Hey, how's it going? This is Phil Swift. Today we'll be looking at the Neyman Armadillo gloves. Originally I wanted something that I can use cross-platform for SCA Rapier, Armor, and HEMA Longsword and Rapier. So I needed something with good articulation and can withstand blows from a longsword or a rattan. So these were the latest batch received. I think they were the latest batch. I don't know if they sent another one afterwards, but basically, the person whom I got this from received it around February 11th, and everything that Stacy had mentioned looks like it did some improvements. I'm not too sure, but if you look. Right at the right there, it looked like it used to be pointy, and they filed all the sides of the fingers down, so it is not too pointy, which is good. The only thing is, when I got these right out of the box, they were definitely unusable. I couldn't put my hand in there, and when I did forcefully, I couldn't even move it at all. So let's talk about design. I'm not a handy person, and when I saw these out of the box, I was highly disappointed because I couldn't use them right away. I'm also a little bit too lazy to restring all the fingers there. It probably take quite a long time to do that. I assume it will take like at least 2 to 3 hours to restring them all. Instead of what I did to make this usable for the videos that I'm about to show you, is that I had weight put on the fingers like this to basically pry them open or out. Now Stacy said to basically just kind of open them up and then tape them like this, so then they kind of stretch it out, which is genius, and I wish I thought about that. Instead I made like this contraption to basically just like hold the fingers out, and I left it curing, as I call it, for a good 48 hours, 2 days, and it was somewhat usable after that. I could put my hand in, it takes quite a bit some time, and obviously it basically naturally wants your hands to curl, which is fine because you're holding something anyways. But the design looks sleeker than the first model, especially like right over here. It's not as bulky. You can see it tapering, and it fits into my rapier handle, which is awesome. Now, granted, I'm a size small, so if you're medium or large, well, this is a medium, the one that was ordered. So it's a bit longer for me naturally, and it's not slightly wider than my hand. But I mean, if you have a large, for sure it won't fit into your rapier hilt unless you get it customized. And maybe a medium may not fit it as best as it can, but it's worth a shot. Definitely my medium fits into my rapier, as you can see in the video. The gloves seem like they're fairly articulate. Once the fingers are restrung, they'll be even better. I wish that they gave us enough excess cord in the fingers so that right out of the box, so that we can restring it with the same paracord instead of having to buy your own paracord. I want to give this a future rating for articulation, 8.5 out of 10. Compared to the 5-finger SG gloves, which is the sparring gloves, which I would give about a, I give it about, I want to say 7.5, because the fingers can't, really be curled as good as these can. But I mean, it still works like very well. I do like one thing about these is that in the back here, you can actually bend that, whereas the SG gloves is pretty solid in the back, and you can't really do that. I mean, do you really need that? It's nice. It's nice to have that articulation right there, but I mean, With the sparring gloves, you can with the wrist, you can go all the way, bend it all the way back. So I mean, it's a tough comparison. But basically, I would totally give this a 9 if it wasn't for the flaw in the cuff design. I find that with the cuff design, which I call like the Batman cuff, they seem to get in the way of your cuts when especially when you're doing rapier. When you're doing reversals, when you're doing mandrito cuts or tajos, then you're fine. But when you're doing reversals or revés, it basically doesn't let your wrist bend too far back in, and so because of this little point in the cuff there, so you can't really do reveses too easily. Now, since I'm a crossover fencer, I prefer the gear to look period, or at least be period looking. Now you can argue that these bulky gloves look like bulky leather gloves from far, but they're far from leather gloves. So these don't look period at all, obviously, because they're made out of plastic. Yeah, I'm not gonna get something period looking that I can use cross-platform. Let's just be real. It'd be nice one day if I can. If I do, it'll probably be a slightly heavy metal, and that could it could hinder my performance. But this is super light, which is awesome. If it wasn't restricting on my fingers, it would feel a little bit more light. But it's amazing for the weight. It's pretty much weighs a little bit more than weighs slightly more than the five finger sparring gloves. I'm hoping that this would be the last glove I purchase, and because it's expensive. It's going for 400 USD, and it could have the potential to be the last glove that I purchase. However, with my limited knowledge on materials, I feel like plastic gets hard over time, and which can lead to cracking and breaking. Or in the case of PVC, it could explode like the PVC bows that you see people make. The most obvious problem long term will be the fact that the fingers are made with paracord, or binded together with the paracord. Sorry, and over time, that's gonna get scratched up, and it's gonna start basically. It's gonna rip in half, and that's just what's gonna happen. It's gonna rip from the friction. So you constantly gotta watch it, make sure it doesn't fall apart when you're using it. Protection wise, I feel like it's very good. I would feel safe using this for longsword, HEMA, and armored SCA fighting if if they seem legal or within the SCA rules. I feel like they do, but I'm not an armored marshal, and I'm kind of new to armored, so I don't know. But I definitely feel like for myself, I definitely feel safe enough to use them for rattan fighting. You can see in this video that I'm having someone beat the crap out of it with a rattan. Granted, he was going a little bit lighter on my fingers, which is fine. I honestly didn't feel anything over the top of the hand here, where the knuckles are. I didn't feel a thing as he was hitting me. However, like I felt a little bit in the fingers, mostly the pinky, and barely anything on the thumb, to be honest. Now, he wasn't hitting me as hard as he could, but I mean, those are decent shots, as I would say. And it didn't really sting that much, but I could feel that if he were to hit me hard, that it would sting. But I mean, a 5-finger glove wouldn't be able to take that kind of punishment. So it is, in its way, it is more protective than the 5-finger sparring glove for sure. And I would rate it at 8.5 out of 10 for protection compared to the Spez Heavies, which would be like a 9.5 out of 10. Now, the why I didn't give this a full 9 is because of the fact the cuffs aren't protective enough, in my opinion, for HEMA Longsword or rattan or heavy SCA fighting, because shots to the wrist sting relatively close to the 5-finger SG gloves. It's not that much thicker or harder or in material than the 5-finger SG. However, if worn with a wrist bracer or a van brace, you should be fine. You should be perfectly safe. Though what I would want to do is, eventually cut this so it's not as, so this stupid point isn't in the way, and I could do reversals or revers. Though they did add, the cool thing that I did like about what they've done is they've added like a gel foam kind of padding to the inside of the glove, and it goes all the way down to the fingertip, almost to the fingertip, for each finger, and also on the thumb. So, and that's probably why it's that's probably why you don't feel as much as of the impact on your fingers and whatnot, because of this padding that they've added inside. I believe it absorbs more of the shock from the impact, which is really good. Overall, I think that Neyman is very close to perfecting the design. However, I think that they are not quite worth the cost at the moment. If they were strung properly and they were usable like right out of the box, then I would say otherwise. Because I mean, think about the fact that you still gotta put like 2 to 3 hours into your time and pry them open for 2 days just so they can be usable. Like really, it shouldn't cost $400. I mean, if I'm gonna pay $400 for a pair of gloves, I'd want it to come usable or right out of the box, right? I don't want to have to cure it for 2 days. That's just overall. I'm sure once they fix that problem, these will be amazing. Anyways, hope that helps.